Open your browser and navigate to app.globus.org. Click Look up your organization and select Stanford University. Press Continue. Now I will use my Stanford credentials to single sign-on into Globus. I'll complete two-factor authentication to finish the login process. Now I am logged into Globus. On the left-hand side of the page, you will see a number of icons. Let's click Endpoints. In this context, endpoints are servers, laptops, or desktops on a computer network from which or to which data can be transferred via Globus. Stanford University Library's main endpoint is one such place. It represents a server on which the library maintains its data assets. To see what data is available via the Stanford University Library's main endpoint, I will click Open in File Manager. When I open the File Manager, notice the three folders: Global, Stanford, and Restricted. File placement among these folders determines who may access those files. Anyone who has a Globus account may access the Global folder, regardless of their institutional affiliation. Only Stanford authenticated users can access the Stanford folder. Finally, only specific end users who are granted access by a Stanford staff member may access the restricted folder. Let's take a closer look at the restricted folder. Within the restricted folder, we see three more subfolders: Datasets, SDR Access, and SDR Ingest. We use SDR Access and SDR Ingest to facilitate large deposits into the SDR. We use the Datasets folder to serve data to end users. I will now open the Datasets folder. Generally, we try to organize files by vendor. If I click the Core Logic folder, I will see a number of our Core Logic datasets. Let's take a closer look at tax history. In the subsequent screen, the folder is labeled with the delivery date, June 18th, 2020. If I open the folder, I will see all of the tax history data delivered to Stanford on June 18th, 2020. What if I wanted to download the tax history data to my personal laptop? I would start by clicking the double panel icon in the upper right-hand corner. I can use the second panel to specify a destination. Click Search. In this screen, I can choose a destination for my transfer. However, my laptop doesn't yet function as a Globus endpoint and thus cannot receive Globus transfers. In order to make my laptop a Globus endpoint, I need to install Globus Connect Personal. Because I'm using a Mac, I will download Globus Connect Personal for Mac. Note that there is also a Windows-compatible version available. I'll launch the installer and drag the program to my Applications folder. Then I will open Globus Connect Personal. Click Login. A web page will launch. Click Allow. A new window will appear, giving you the opportunity to label your new personal endpoint. I will call mine Kate's Personal Endpoint. There is no need to provide a description nor select the high assurance checkbox. I now see Globus running in the menu bar. Now that I've installed my Globus Personal Endpoint, let me return to the web application so that I can facilitate my transfer. Once again, I'll click Search to view possible destinations. I'll click My Collections and look for Kate's Personal endpoint. When I click the link, I am redirected to the two-panel interface from before. I can see that my personal endpoint is representing my home directory. I can even see the files and folders in my home directory. To begin the transfer, I will click the Stanford University Library's main endpoint panel. I can select some or all of the files that I want to transfer to my personal endpoint. Once I have selected all of the files of interest, I will open the Transfer and Sync Options tab. In order for the transfer to be successful, I need to select Encrypt Transfer and Verify File Integrity after transfer. The three other transfer settings are optional, but I recommend selecting Preserve Source File Modification Times. Then I will give my transfer a label. Let's call it Move Core Logic Tax History to Personal Endpoint. Finally, I will click Start. I can click Activity on the left-hand side of the page to view the status of my transfer. Here I see Move Core Logic Tax History to Personal Endpoint is underway. I can intermittently check the status of my transfer here. I will also get an email message when the transfer completes. What if I wanted to share the Core Logic tax history data with a student? Since the Core Logic data is in the restricted folder, we will need to facilitate the access. We can do this by creating a guest collection. Guest collections are the mechanism by which an end user can access restricted content. A guest collection creates a way for an end user to access a specific directory and transfer files from that directory to their personal endpoint. In the right-hand menu, click Share. You will be redirected to a screen with all of the guest collections associated with Stanford University Library's main endpoint. In the upper right-hand corner, click Add Guest Collection. Now we will establish some details about our guest collection. At the top, you will see the path to which our guest collection will give access. Now, enter a display name. I usually label the display name according to the vendor and dataset. In this case, I will name it Core Logic Tax History. I can leave description and keywords blank. Click Create Share. Now I can give access permissions to the student. I will click Add Permissions, Share With. Select Share with User, Share with Specific Individuals, and add the student's email address. In this case, let's demonstrate by sharing the guest collection with my Stanford email account. Make sure that Send Email is selected. This will make sure that the user gets an email notification. Also, make sure that only read permissions are selected. Now I see an additional Kate bar at stanford.edu user who only has read permissions. Because Send Email was selected in the previous screen, the student should receive an email notification with a link to the guest collection. They can then facilitate a transfer between the guest collection and their personal endpoint.